The illustrations I will share are actually works that I have spread over a long process. I have been selecting and drawing plants from this order for a few years now. I have used some of these illustrations in various projects. As I mentioned, most of them do not have process videos because some drawings are old. Nevertheless, these are works I have done with love, and when the subject matter is interesting and stunning like water lilies, the resulting works turn out to be nice as well, so I had to use them somewhere. The nymphales are an order of flowering plants, which are all aquatic. They are distinguished by their broad leaves and beautiful flowers. There are 11 genera in this order of plants. I typically examine plants by genera, but the nymphales stand out as a smaller group compared to other orders of flowering plants. So I have chosen some species to study, but most species of the order have gorgeous flowers, so I ended up drawing more than I had planned. The first genus I want to talk about is Brasenia, and it has only one species. Its common name is water shield. It thrives in the shallow waters of lakes, rivers, and ponds, especially in slightly acidic conditions. It is characterized by its bright green leaves and small purple flowers that bloom from June through September. Brasenia is also cultivated as a vegetable in China and Japan. Another genus is Kabomba. It has 5 species, but I studied 3 of them here. The common name is fanwort, and it is highly favored by aquarists as an ornamental and oxygenating plant for fish tanks. However, they are also considered invasive species, so once you introduce these to a habitat, they can become weeds. This is the genus of Barclaya. I immediately like the shapes and colors of the genus, so I have chosen these 2 species to draw. Barclaya grows along streams or at their edges in tropical rainforests, but these species are considered endangered, so they are rarely seen. This species is commonly known as prickly water lily. It is the only extant member of the genus Waterlily. It is found in southern and eastern Asia. The plant produces edible white seeds and is cultivated for its seeds and lowland ponds in India, China, and Japan. The Chinese have been cultivating this plant for centuries. The plant thrives in areas with hot, dry summers and cold winters. Seeds are harvested in late summer and early autumn and can be eaten either raw or cooked. When the seeds are roasted or fried, they pop like popcorn, which sounds really interesting. This genus is Nupar and has the common names as water lily, pond lily, alligator bonnet or bonnet lily, and spatterdock. They can be seen in ponds, lakes, and slow-moving rivers. Some species of the genus can completely cover the water's surface, so they can block out the light, and because of this, other nearby plants can be killed. The flowers and roots of these plants are eaten by animals like deer and beaver. For the genus of Victoria, I created 2 pages of illustrations. The genus name was given in honor of Queen Victoria of the United Kingdom, and they are commonly known as Victoria or giant water lily. They are called giant because, for example, the species Victoria boliviana have leaves that can go up to 3 meters, so if you have seen photographs of people where they are sitting on lily pads, it must be one of the Victoria species. So the leaves are large, and as the plant spreads, it pushes other plants aside until only its kind remains. This almost entirely blocks sunlight from reaching any plant below the water. This is Victoria amazonica, and it is native to the shallow waters of the Amazon River basin. It is really interesting to see different colors on the same flower, so I tried to understand the process, how the water lily changes its color. From what I understand, it is about the pollination of the flower. Throughout the growing season, each plant keeps producing flowers. They have a special relationship with scarab beetles, which help with pollination. When the flowers bloom in a patch, they all open at the same time and give off a fruity smell. The white petals and the scent attract the beetles. At night, the flowers stop producing the scent and close up, trapping the beetles inside. The beetles stay there for a day, feeding on the spongy tissue inside the flower. During this time, the petals turn from white to reddish pink, indicating pollination. As the beetles eat, the stamens fall inward and pollen drops onto them. On the second evening, the flowers open enough to let the beetles out, covered in pollen. The beetles then move on to new flowers and they continue the pollination process. And this is Victoria cruziana, commonly known as Santa Cruz water lily or water platter. They are tropical species native to South America, but the plant is a popular water garden plant in botanical gardens. And as you can see in my illustrations of the Victoria species, because these plants are very popular, they have many cultivars, and I chose those cultivars to draw and paint obviously because of their beauty. I usually draw lines a bit carelessly, but in these illustrations I like the form and details of the flowers, so I paid extra attention and created more polished line art. You'll see me changing styles all the time, sometimes with the line art, often with sloppy line art, and occasionally with more finished paintings without line art at all. It might seem inconsistent, but I use different styles to emphasize certain aspects or just to keep the joy in drawing and painting. If my studies start feeling like chores, I switch things up or start working on a new subject to keep it interesting for me. The last genus I studied is Nymphea, and they're commonly called water lilies. There are many different species in this genus, and I have chosen 25 of them to illustrate. This is Nymphea alba, and it is commonly known as white water lily or European white water lily. It is found all over Europe and in parts of North Africa and in the Middle East in fresh water. So I just drew the flower because I wanted to capture the full shape of the flower, which looked amazing to me, and in every illustration I try to emphasize what intrigues me most. And this is Nymphea macrosperma. It is a water lily native to northern Australia. It occurs in freshwater lagoons. This illustration ended up being a more completed painting than I usually do. Typically, I make quick studies of species to learn new forms, experiment with colors, or focus on specific features. However, this time I felt like painting more freely, and it shows. I think it stands out from the other illustrations. It is not just a simple drawing on my usual background texture. As you can see, I am no longer line dependent in this painting, but in most of the species I draw, I leave the lines on top and don't paint to a point where I am line independent. So because this looks more polished, I think I like it a little bit more. For example, this is Nymphea Miami, and in this illustration I didn't include a full background and my line art is clearly visible. I chose to paint this species because of the different lily pad colors and the interesting colors and texture on the flowers, even though the overall shape wasn't very distinctive from all of the other water lily species. Most of the time I'm just trying to document what I feel is noteworthy, and this varies from species to species. Sometimes it's the colors, like in this case, sometimes it's the general shape or details, and sometimes it's something interesting I've read about the species that I want to remember later, like the pollination process of Victoria species or the cultural significance of a certain plant. For example, this is Nymphea micrantha, and it is one of those species that I painted because I wanted to play around with the colors. So it may not look interesting enough for everyone, just a plain water lily, but I like the color harmony here, and I thought maybe this is not that interesting, but I can later use these colors while I'm designing something else. And this is Nymphea odorata. It has many common names like American white water lily, fragrant water lily, beaver root, fragrant white water lily, and sweet-scented water lily. As these common names suggest, the flower of the plant are very fragrant. It can commonly be found in shallow lakes, ponds, and permanent slow-moving waters throughout North America. The flowers open each day and close again each night. This is hairy water lily, and it is common in shallow lakes and ponds throughout temperate and tropical Asia. It can be found in the wild, but it is another commonly cultivated plant, so it has artificially raised varieties in addition to many natural hybrids. It is commonly found in white and pink, and I especially like the general shape of this flower. Here is another water lily illustration I spent a little bit more time on. This species has showy flowers with striking pink color, so I wanted to play around with vibrant colors on the background while I was trying to create a contrast of colors between the pinks of the flower and the blue in the background. This species of water lilies are from tropical South America. The flower has 4 green or pink sepals, and I really like the soft colors and the fullness of the flower shape. So this time I only painted the flowers, but I used 3 different angles to create this composition. This is Nymphea tetragona, and it inhabits ponds, lakes and slow-moving quiet streams, and it is native to the region spanning from North Europe to Korea and Himalaya, and subarctic America to Northwest USA. So it has the broadest global distribution of any species in this genus. Therefore, it is a culturally significant flower. It has been used as an ornamental flower, used in traditional medicine, and used as food. Also, in Buddhism, it is used as an offering flower. This is Nymphea termarum, a water lily species that's native to Rwanda. It has tiny flowers and was once thought to be extinct in the wild due to habitat destruction. Luckily, it was saved from extinction when it was grown from seed at the Royal Botanic Gardens of Kew. In an exciting turn, a previously unknown wild population was discovered in 2023. This is Nymphea amazonum, and it can be found in permanent ponds, in lagoons and canals, and it is native to South America. It has nocturnal flowers, and these flowers have been used as traditional medicine or food, but they are not cultivated largely. This flower is Nymphea ampla, with the common names of the dot-leaf water lily, and it has a cultural significance in Maya civilization. The flower shows up a lot in Mayan art, often alongside jaguars and Mayan kings. One of its Mayan names means the vulva of the water. This highlights its cultural importance, symbolizing life, fertility, and birth. The plant has opiate-like effects and was used by the Mayans to induce mild trances and for calming effects. This is the blue Egyptian lotus. This aquatic plant thrives in freshwater lakes, pools and rivers, naturally found across most of the eastern half of Africa and parts of southern Arabia. It has also spread to other regions as an ornamental plant. The ancient Egyptians cultivated it and held it in high regard in their religious practices. The plant and its flowers show up a lot in ancient Egyptian art, like stone carvings and paintings on the walls of Karnak temple. They might have been linked to afterlife rituals, since some pharaohs' mummies were found covered with the petals. Over 4,000 years ago, they even grew it on special farms to have enough flowers for offerings, though it was also just a popular ornamental plant in garden ponds. The plant was important in Egyptian mythology, symbolizing the sun because the flowers close at night and open in the morning. In Heliopolis, they believed the world began when the sun god Ra emerged from a lotus flower in the primordial waters, and at night he returned to the flower. Although it is grown as an ornamental plant for water gardens in tropical and subtropical regions around the world, and also used for perfume making for centuries, it has been banned from some countries because it has some effects and considered as an illegal drug. This water lily has many different common names such as blue lotus, star lotus, red water lily, dwarf aquarium lily, blue water lily, blue star water lily. It is native to southern and eastern parts of Asia and is the national flower of Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, this plant usually grows in buffalo ponds and natural wetlands. Its beautiful aquatic flower has been mentioned in literary works since ancient times, symbolizing virtue, discipline, and purity. According to Buddhist lore in Sri Lanka, when Buddha died, lotus flowers bloomed everywhere he had walked in his lifetime. I also drew Nymphea colorata, which is a variety of the blue water lily. And this is Nymphia candida, and it is native to quite freshwater habitats, mainly in ponds, lakes, and slow-moving streams in Eurasia. And this is my illustration of Nymphia elegans, also known as the tropical royal blue water lily. It is native to the United States, Mexico, and the Bahamas. I just wanted to depict a very classical looking botanical illustration of the water lily here. Although it is not like those scientific illustrations, I think I was able to capture that vintage botanical illustration look with the study. This water lily has the common name as blue lily. It is found in Australia. Its flowers are violet, blue, or white, and I chose to paint it because I like the color going from white to purple. Actually, if I was coloring water lilies, I would do the inner sides darker, but since painting so many species now, I understand that the tips of the flowers to the outside are generally darker, which really surprised me at first. This is Nymphia gigantea, and it is commonly known as the giant water lily or blue water lily. It is native to northern and eastern Australia, but it is a very popular plant that had been cultivated elsewhere. And this is Nymphia leybergii, dwarf water lily. You can find it in ponds, shallow lakes, slow-moving streams in North America. It is a tiny water lily and it is considered a threatened species. Nymphia lotus is known with the common names of white Egyptian lotus, tiger lotus, white lotus, or Egyptian water lily. It grows in various parts of East Africa and Southeast Asia, but it's a popular water lily that has been introduced to other places, leading to many hybrids. You can find it in ponds where it prefers clear, warm, still and slightly acidic waters, and it can survive through dry seasons. It's often used as a freshwater aquarium plant, and it is grown for its flowers in ornamental garden pools and greenhouses. The Egyptian lotus has a rich history, especially in ancient Egypt, where it was worshipped and seen as a symbol of creation. In ancient Greece, it symbolized innocence and modesty. The Egyptian lotus is actually Egypt's national flower, and ancient Egyptians cultivated it in ponds and marshes. This flower frequently appears in ancient Egyptian decorations. They believed the lotus flower gave them strength and power. There are shreds of evidence of the use of flower in ornamental horticulture and landscape design. In Egyptian mythology, the god Horus was sometimes depicted as a naked boy sitting on a lotus with his mother. The lotus was one of the earliest Egyptian capital motifs used in columns. Over time, other river plants were also used in these designs, but the lotus remained significant. Women wore amulets during childbirth showing a frog goddess sitting in a lotus. Also, the number 1,000 in ancient Egyptian numerals was represented by the white lotus symbol. The ancient Egyptians also extracted perfume from this flower and used it in funerary garlands, temple offerings, and as adornments for women. Nymphia mexicana has the common names of yellow water lily, Mexican water lily, and banana water lily, and it is native to the southern United States and Mexico. Because of its beautiful yellow flowers, this plant has been introduced in many places, but it quickly dominated the aquatic ecosystems, so it is considered as an invasive species. Many species are cultivated as ornamental plants, and many cultivars have been bred. So I also wanted to paint some of those beautiful cultivars of the water lilies. You will see some of them here. Water lilies aren't just beautiful, they also provide useful shade that helps control algae growth in ponds and lakes. Many of the water lilies commonly used in water gardens are hybrids and specially cultivated varieties. Several of these cultivars have earned the prestigious Royal Horticultural Society's Award of Garden Merit. Water lilies have always been significant symbols in many cultures. The water lily depiction has been used in national emblems or coat of arms. Still today, the water lily is the national flower of Iran, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. As I already mentioned when I was talking about some species, water lilies held great importance for ancient civilizations like Maya and Egypt. For example, the main job of Maya rulers was to secure clean, drinkable water for their people. They built reservoirs, claimed wetlands, and constructed dams and channels to capture and store rainwater. They use their knowledge of the wetland biosphere to turn artificial reservoirs into thriving ecosystems. And the key indicator of a successful water system was the presence of thriving water lilies. Because of this, Maya elites began associating themselves with these flowers. Water lily imagery became common in Maya art, appearing on architecture, murals, and in hieroglyphs. Aristocrats and religious figures wore masks and headdresses adorned with water lilies to look like gods. There's also evidence that the Maya used water lilies for their drug-like properties. Ritual scenes often depicted liquid flowing from water lily flowers on the heads of gods, suggesting the Maya ingested these plants to alter their consciousness. So in general, water symbolism, particularly through the imagery of water lilies, was deeply significant in Maya culture. Like the Maya culture, the ancient Egyptians used Nile water lilies as cultural symbols. Since 1580, the Latin word lotus, originally for a tree, has been used for Egyptian water lilies and later for Indian texts. The lotus motif often appears in temple columns. The lotus rising from mud to bloom in sun symbolized creation and was linked to fertility gods and the life-giving Upper Nile. The blue Egyptian water lily opens in the morning and closes at dusk, while the white one does the opposite. Egyptians saw this as symbols of deities and the afterlife. And when we look at art history, Claude Monet, the famous French Impressionist painter, is well known for his numerous paintings of water lilies in the pond in his garden. These water lily paintings are some of his most iconic works. And at the end, I want to talk about the name of this genus. The name Nymphia comes from the nature deities in Greek mythology. Nymphs are like nature personified, often linked to specific places or trees, and usually shown as maidens. Because they're connected to springs, people used to believe they had healing abilities. They were also thought to have other powers like seeing the future or changing shape. Most nymphs were immortal, but they were considered as minor deities, not like classic Greek goddesses. Studying water lilies was fun and full of inspiration. Mythological references or the symbolism aside, they are just inspiring the way that they look. They have this magical quality with their large, vibrant flowers floating gracefully on the water surface, creating a striking contrast with the dark water and green lily pads. The way they open and close with the sun's movement adds a sense of enchantment, as if they are in sync with nature's rhythms. The delicate petals and intricate details of each bloom contribute to their otherworldly beauty. Additionally, the serene environments where they grow, like still ponds and quiet lakes or slow streams, enhance their mystical appeal. Their cultural significance and symbolism in various myths and legends also add to this magical aura. I know water lilies are one of those popular subjects, but I will be looking at less known species too, and I hope to find more inspirational subjects like these so that my enthusiasm to draw things that are earthly just continues off into the future.